here, and we're gonna make sure you can hear the station. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Hang tight.
Mm-hmm. Everybody doing a live radio show. We're just getting it set up here, so just hold on.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good.
Okay, I was wondering, are you still the office still open right now, or no?
Yes, the office is open, but I'm not doing contact.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So, hi, Facebook Live. We're doing the Chris Ayotte Show. I think it's pronounced that Ayotte or Ayotte Show. And we're starting probably in a couple minutes. So, give it some time. On the radio or on the phone, so hopefully you can hear it pretty good. So I'm going to be calling. They're calling me. You can hear them right now. We're waiting for them to connect.
Hope is in You by Aaron Just. A great song. And I don't know if you saw this. My wife and I watched it Sunday afternoon on his YouTube channel, Andre Bocelli's Powerful Easter Prayer of Hope. The Italian opera singer sang Music for Hope at the Duomo Cathedral in Milan, Italy on Easter Sunday as a message of love to the world, especially during this pandemic crisis. And Bocelli, who was invited to sing by the mayor of Milan, explained that it would not be a performance, but a global prayer, which I thought was really interesting for him to characterize it that way. He said, I received this invitation by the mayor of Milan and by the authorities of the church, and of course I answered yes. He said he was happy to do it. Also, he said it's not a performance, it's not a concert, it's only a prayer. He said, I will go there to pray, and I like to think that everyone listening to me sing can pray with me. So he sang some beautiful songs in the cathedral itself, including Ave Maria, Sancta Maria, and Domini Deus. And then he went outside and he sang a beautiful rendition of Amazing Grace. He says he believes in the power of prayer, which the world is desperate for right now. And I don't know if you know this, but more than 28 million people have viewed Bocelli's Message of Hope. So check it out on his YouTube channel. It really lifted our hearts, and we all need some hope right now. You're listening to Chris Ayotte on WMUZ 1035 The Light.
Charlie? Yeah. I'm going to be on the radio right here, so I'm just going to leave you a lot.
Make sure you listen tonight to WMUZ.
I'm on the radio right now.
Bob Duco, Prime Time. Listen every week as Bob fearlessly defends our faith as Christians and gives evidence for the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the proof for creation over evolution, the proof that Christianity is the one true religion, and he also debates skeptics and unbelievers. Bob will give you all the evidence you need to prove that what we believe as Christians is the truth. It's Bob Duco Prime Time, every night from 8 to 9 p.m. on WMUZ The Light, 103.5 FM. Wow, how the world has changed in just a few short weeks. If there is one thing COVID-19 has taught us, is good hygiene. Wash your hands more often and wipe down frequently touched surfaces. Unfortunately, we also face another problem that has been around us since, well, time itself. Rodents. G'day, I'm Scott from Plug-in Pest Free. Rodents usually carry diseases with them we do not want around us. Treating the problem the old-fashioned way with baits and traps only causes the problem to continue. Baits invite rodents in when you really should be trying to keep them out. So how do we keep them out? With Plug-in Pest Free, an electromagnetic device that utilizes the electrical wiring in your home to set up a no-go zone. Now that's fair income. Look us up today at gopestfree.com. Use promo code PEST20 for 20% off. That's gopestfree.com. Promo code PEST20. Don't spray and regret. Plug in and forget.
One of the things you use WMUZ radio for is to find good, solid, honest companies with whom you can do business for many of the things you buy and services you use. So when you need a phone number for one of them, call us at 313-272-3434.
You're listening to Chris Ayotte on WMUZ 103.5.
Sorry, Facebook's taking so long.
And our guest here for the first hour is a gentleman who is a natural health authority and a soft tissue specialist. He is also a certified quantum reflex analysis practitioner. We'll ask him what that means. He's also a host for a show on our sister station, AM 560, WRDT, The Word. He's a chiropractor and practitioner of functional medicine. And he uses holistic health. So as we're talking about hope, I always think about healing. And I want to welcome to the program Jason Eagle. Thanks for being on Chris Ayotte today.
Hi there. Can you hear me pretty good?
I can hear you great, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Let me just give you one correction. I'm not a chiropractor. So
You're not a chiropractor.
no, I'm not a chiropractor. So we don't want to go on record with getting it. You know, now with fake news, we want real news and we want the truth. So I'm just going to set the record straight. Okay.
And Jason, the truth will set you free.
Correct. That's right.
Okay, I was looking at my notes here. So obviously there are different, I'll say, approaches that people are taking as it pertains to trying to heal from any number of different ailments. And I know you've seen significant results
Yes.
say, for shoulder and knee and hip. And sometimes people are a little reluctant to go down the path of natural health. Tell us a little bit about that and why that should be the first choice.
Yeah, well, let me just bring up, especially with what we're going into right now. If you've been listening to my show, for weeks I've been saying this, but even for all the time, it's the people that are really at the greatest risk with this health concern are people that have underlying health conditions. And underlying health conditions, things like diabetes, which is all treatable, even the worst diabetes case is fixable through your diet. Heart disease, these different types of things. Those people that have what's called comorbidities, which is really not really in the realm of Western medicine. They treat it when it's already a problem. But our approach is let's get to it before it becomes a problem. And even after it is a problem, there are so many things that you can do naturally that are really better than even the standard drug approaches. Now, I'm not poo-pooing the drug approaches. They're great for acute health. But see, it's a horrible system for chronic. And 80% of the world's population, any type of health condition is chronic. And for that's where we get into the herbs. That's where we get into food. That's where we get into eliminating, say, toxins, or even stopping eating something that you are, say, allergic to. That's where getting people moving. That's where manipulation in terms of breaking up scar tissue and all these different types of things. That's the realm that you really want to deal with, because it was always made sense to get to it before it was a problem. Now, even the hospitals are saying, do what you can. Don't come here. Stay out of here. Take care of it yourself, because we don't want you here. So that's where I come in.
And so people do need to pursue alternative channels to address
Correct.
Any number of pain-related issues. So,
yes.
Jason, what approach would you take? So for those who suffer, for example, from joint pain or hip pain, or like myself on occasion, lower back pain,
Yes.
what are some of those, I'll say, questions or approaches to take to understand the root causes?
Well, first of all, you have to understand where the pain is coming from and what's driving it. If it's, say, for instance, degeneration in, say, the discs or things like that, there's all kinds of things that, let's say, turmeric is so important. Um, there's all kinds of different supplements that you can take, but see, those are not really a replacement for instance, discovering what's underlying that. So, like a good example is people with low back issues. Almost probably 80% of them, I find that they also have digestive issues, meaning they even have bowel troubles, meaning that if you're holding onto waste products in your lower bowel, that's going to be degrading your low back. And if you're taking all kinds of even drugs to stop the inflammation, you're not going to the source of the inflammation. And so you can find that, like, for instance, and a good example, let's say knees, people that have really bad knees. In Chinese medicine, we know that that's actually the kidneys. The kidneys reflex to the knees. And so a lot of times when you say, for instance, people put people on a kidney cleanse, their knees are just so much better. Or gallbladder. Gallbladder is an issue because the gallbladder guards all of your joints. And so many times when people cannot digest fats, which that's what the gallbladder does. If fats are just going through you because your gallbladder is jammed up, then they're not getting to your joints. And like the Tin Man, you really need an oil change, but it's because you cannot digest the fats. So this gets into, it's very complicated, but it's very simple. The fixes are very simple, but it's a complicated, really, like it's like a detective. And that's what I am, is a detecting, because there's no one size that fits all. Each person's an individual.
So when you talk about digestion issues, I mean, are there, just right now, as I think people thinking about maybe recalibrating diet,
Yes.
caffeine, water consumption,
Yes.
exercise, what kinds of foods should people really be eating to free themselves up, perhaps, from
Well,
pain?
absolutely. Let's start with instead of what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating. The number one thing to eliminate is sugar, and the number one sugar to eliminate is actually what people don't think is a sugar, which is wheat. Let's just start with, say, cakes and cookies and refined enriched wheat. It's been designed by the what you would call Monsanto and all these companies to actually be more sugary and higher on your glycemic value and harder on your insulin than straight sugar. So I always recommend, if people are dealing with chronic pain, they should, first of all, let's eliminate, let's say, wheat, and especially eliminate, let's say, the pasta, eliminate the bread, the cookies, these types of things. And then you go down to, let's say, sugars. Again, people like, they go to Starbucks and they get these drinks. Do you have any idea how much sugar is in those things? So again, people sometimes want to go to, why don't I add more, which costs more? But I'm telling you, the answer is free. God's way is free. And it actually will save you money many times by eliminating something. Does that make sense?
No, that does make sense. I'm struggling with the pasta thing, but
Yes.
I will give that some more thought and maybe lighten up a little bit on pasta.
That's
So
right.
we want to continue this conversation with Jason Eagle of Strategic Healing. He is a natural health authority, and you're listening to Chris Ayotte on WMUZ 1035 The Light.
Dr. McHenry and the staff of Dental Arts in Plymouth are happy to be sponsoring this moving program. Under these unique circumstances, it's good to be reminded of what true sacrifice looks like. And through that sacrifice, we are protected by a God that's more powerful than anything, even death itself. This trying time will soon pass. Until it does, keep in mind that we may be apart physically, but we are united by the joy that today is a celebration of our new life, thanks to God and the sacrifice of Jesus. Dr. McHenry reminds you of Psalm 62:6 that says, God is our stronghold. We will not be shaken. Although this is a season of testing, let this program serve as a reminder that a glorious victory will come, like a beautiful Easter morning. In the meantime, let us be the hands of Christ to our neighbors and point others to the peace that can only come from knowing Christ. Happy Easter from Dr. McHenry and the staff of Dental Arts in Flint. Hey folks, I know a lot of you have my Top 10 Proofs Apologetics series, and I appreciate that. Whether it's a Top 10 Proofs for the Resurrection, or God's existence, for creation over evolution, or the Bible being true, all the rest of the issues and topics we talk about. And I know that there's a lot of parents who tell me that they use my Top 10 Proofs for homeschooling, for educating the kids, because they're explaining
Parties in the basement.
fifth grade
Great
language.
time.
And I appreciate that. I'm honored that you do that. But during this coronavirus shutdown and the school shutdown, there's a lot more parents that are teaching their kids at home, and a lot of parents that are now getting my Top 10 Proofs that didn't have them before. And so I understand this is a tough financial time. I understand a lot of people are out of work, and so I just kind of want to help out as much as possible and give you a big discount if you want to get some of these Top 10 Proofs. So at top10proofs.com, we have a 50% reduction in all MP3 Top 10 Proofs purchases. That's all topics, even the discount packages, including the largely discounted complete set, is already now taken 50% off on top of the discounts that are already in place. So you'll see that at top10proofs.com, when you put something in your cart, when you add it to your cart, it'll go down automatically 50%. This is going to be in place through April 30th, okay? Now, we can't offer 50% off on the physical CDs. Those aren't 50% off. You can still order those if you want, and we'll ship them out to you. But the MP3 is 50% off through April 30th. You can go right now to top10proofs.com.
You're listening to Chris Ayotte, WMUC 103.5 The Light, and our guest is a natural health authority. He is also a practitioner of functional medicine, which uses supplements and nutrition. Jason Eagle of Strategic Healing. Thanks again, Jason, for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you had talked about creating an individual treatment plan. Give us kind of the approach that you would take for a new patient or client coming in who is new to this. Kind of break it down for us what the process entails.
Yeah, well, let's start with what I'm doing right now, which is I'm doing contact lists. Normally I have people come into the office, but I can get everything, all the information that I need over the phone, over Skype, over FaceTime, until it's time to see people in the office again. But the number one thing it starts with is an intake is I sit and I listen to people, and I go through and we ask all the questions. How are you sleeping? How are you going to the bathroom? How is your energy? What type of pain? And so a lot of times people respond, they say, I've never had anybody listen to my story like that before. And that really is so comforting from people, because literally it's a good hour of whatever it takes for me to get an understanding of what you're dealing with. Now, sometimes people, they need to be prompted. They I don't know, but I have a really good way of asking them all of the, what you would call the markers of health, which is sleeping, going to the bathroom, levels of pain, how if you're going up steps, how is your breathing, all these different things. And then after we do treatments, those are the things that we come back, and that's how people will say, I know I'm getting better. I'm able to go up 5 more flights of steps without, I'm able to sleep this many more times. I'm able to not have to get up and go to the bathroom these many more times, let alone I have this much less pain and all of these things. So it really starts with, first of all, really, really listening to a person like they've never been listened to before, especially in the Western medicine model, where typically they're just seen by the doctor maybe 2 minutes, and then the rest of it is a nurse practitioner, and it's maybe only 7 minutes maximum. And people kind of go, wait a minute, how do they know what's going on? They didn't even. So that's what I do, is really give people the time to really express and get to the bottom of where are you at and where do you want to be. So that's what's really different.
So it's not like a cookie cutter approach or a peanut butter spread of the same plan for all people. Everyone is unique. Everyone is different.
Correct.
And I like the fact that you help others on their path to what you call self-healing and abundant, radiant living.
Yes.
Which I want as much of that as I can possibly get. Tell
Yes.
us a little bit more about that.
Well, let me say to the word radiant, see, what I do is I pick every word for its purpose. Because first of all, let me get into what quantum reflex analysis is. Quantum reflex analysis stands for basically, this is the most modern understanding of what a human being is. A human being is not just guts and blood. You are what's called an electromagnetic being. And people that kind of go, I don't know if I believe that. Okay, if you have a heart attack and your heart stops and we call the paramedic, how do they start your heart up? They use the shock paddles. They shock you with electricity, which jumpstarts your electric capacity of your heart. So if you were to see what your body really looks like, is you're this electromagnetic field. And when you see a healthy person, they are radiating. That's why a person says, when you see, like, say, a pregnant woman, they look as if they're glowing. It's because they are. It's what's called biophotonic emissions, meaning there's these light packets that are shooting out of your body. Conversely, when a person gets really old and sick, they look dull. They look like gray. They lose this light. So really it's, and that's why God's way in terms of what we would call antioxidants, because these are plants and other living things out there that store energy of light. And so that's why they say that the healthiest things for you are, let's say, the things that have the most color, because these are plants that are growing out where the sun is bombarding it and really causing damage, but they develop this ability to take what is normally harmful and actually turn it into healthy. So it's like a kung fu person that is like, instead of you hitting me and knocking me down, you're just making me stronger. And that's what God has developed and put into these plants and the animals and the things that when we ingest them, it goes into our body and it donates that energy, which is, there is no such thing as bad energy. It's just, how are you set up to it? Like, I always use this example, a wave. It can either crush you or you can surf it. And that's the whole idea, is can you get up on top of this and use this energy to benefit you? Because it is all energy.
No, I appreciate you outlining that, Jason. And I know your website is strategichealing.us.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. I know you're located in Auburn Hills.
Yes.
And you also have a show on our sister station on WRDT AM 560 called Ask the Experts.
Yes.
I believe that is live on Wednesdays from 1 to 2 p.m.
That's right.
With Jason Eagle. Jason, you are so knowledgeable about natural health and functional medicine. Just with 1 minute left, what would you encourage our listeners to understand right now as people are sort of recalibrating and reevaluating their lives and their health?
Yes, well, what I would tell you is that, first of all, we have to determine the difference between what you see and what you hear and what you believe. Because the biggest thing, and I've said this before, this virus, the worst part of it, it's a mind virus. It is fear. And again, God says, I set before you life and death. Choose life. And life is not fearful. And so, again, I can tell you all of the wonderful things that are happening at the same time that people are scared. This is wonderful. This has reset this whole world. And if you have the correct perspective, you can kind of go, wow, this is amazing. And this is great. And this is time to heal, because once it's time to go, we really want to be up and running, not walking, not basically crawling out of our caves. We want to go and be ready to just go at it. And the biggest thing is to be able to face your fear and be able to also with prayer and your spirit, but also rationally and logically be able to kind of go, you know what? I really don't have anything to be afraid of.
Yeah, Jason, when people are told that they have to think about seriously surgery isn't always the first option, is it?
No. And in fact, now, they've put a kibosh on the whole elective surgery. So we don't even, when this opens back up, there's a whole bunch of surgeries that are not going to necessarily take place. But even before this, I would say it's like a carpenter says, measure 5 times and cut once. And I can't tell you how many people have literally not had a shoulder surgery or a hip surgery because they came and saw me, and I worked on them, and we did a whole program, and they've gone even back to their surgeons, and their surgeons were angry with them. It's weird because they're like, I couldn't cut you because it would be unethical. And they didn't ask what they did. They just said, okay, just come back when it becomes a problem. And it never becomes a problem. So it always helps to try the least invasive thing, especially with surgeries. Like carpal tunnel surgery. It's one of the least successful surgeries out there. And so there's so much and usually most carpal tunnel surgery is coming, or the problem is coming from your neck. It's not coming from your wrist at all. It's coming from your neck.
Wow. And so much more to learn. Jason Eagle of Strategic Healing. Folks, to find out more, his website is strategichealing.us. Jason, I wish we had more time, but this has been super helpful. We'd love to have you back on our program.
I'd love to be back again. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you. Jason Eagle of Strategic Healing. You're listening to Chris Ayotte on WMUZ 1035 The Light. WMUZ FM HD1 Detroit. Jason, thank you for being on. I appreciate it.
That was great. Hope it worked out and sounded good.
Detroit. Thank you. Sorry about the chiropractic.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. All right. Okay. Take care. Bye.